Hello, and welcome to Community Uplift. My name is Brother Teddy Taylor, and I will be your host today. Since this is the first show of the new year, let me take a moment to wish everyone in the viewing audience a very happy and prosperous 2021. Today, we're going to journey into the world of Black fatherhood. We will speak with Brother Anthony Mcallister about his book entitled Fathers Matter, which is an anthology of Black fathers telling their stories about fatherhood and how important it was to them to be good fathers and the journeys they face in fatherhood. Also, we will find out about Brother Mcallister and his family, how they faced tragedy and how it reshaped their purpose. Also joining us will be the former Grand Bosselist of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Dr. Andrew A. Ray, a dear friend of all of the brothers and a very good friend of our chapter. Also, our former Social Action Chairman, Brother Kevin Greenwood, will also join us. And what we will have is more of a barbershop talk on the views of true manhood and their insights on fatherhood, how important it is for them. But first, let us get some chapter updates from Gamma Pi's Bosselist, Stephen Walls. Joining us now is the Bosselist of Gamma Pi chapter, serving in his second term. Please welcome Brother Stephen Walls. Brother Walls, always good to see you, my friend. Let's begin. Let's start with some paying a tribute to a stalwart brother in our chapter. Your predecessor, Brother Tony Lee, who had been a mainstay on this show for 3 years. Tremendous loss, not only to the chapter, to the communities in which we serve, but also to Omega Psi Phi Fraternity. Can you share with the audience your memories of Brother Lee as a Gamma Pi brother and as a Bosselist?
Well, good evening, Teddy. Thank you for having me again. And, it was a tremendous blow to all of us. Personally, I've known Tony for over 30 years, and his untimely passing was certainly a jolt to us all. But I'm comforted by the fond memories that I have of Tony. As all of us know, he was a stand-up brother. He was a better man and a husband. And he not only served as our bosses, but he was also our immediate past chaplain. And of course, if you know Tony, the one thing that you could always count on was his ability to get the party started. Just had a way, just had a way with people to make people feel good. And, he was a mentor to a number of younger brothers. And, he was a mentor out in the community, a mentor to his church family, a mentor to a number of not only brothers, but youth in the Washington, D.C. area. And so he will be sorely missed, but we will ensure that his memory and good works continue to live on.
Indeed, indeed. I think we all have a favorite Tony Lee story when we're sitting down chatting with each other. It will certainly be it certainly is a big loss to us. In your role as Bosselist, how do you pull the chapter back together again? How's the chapter responded to Brother Lee's death, and how are we going to get back on track, given the fact that his passing was very sudden and we're in the pandemic?
Well, while he wasn't the first brother in our chapter to have fallen ill related to COVID, his passing certainly brought home the severity of COVID in our community. No one, certainly in the chapter fraternity or even in our community, probably would believe that it's a hoax or it's overblown. But I think what it's really done is drawn us to those statistics, and those statistics have really become poignant and real, especially to us as Black people in our community. It really just brought home the importance of what we've been doing in our food drives. There are families that are in real need that have been placed in a precarious situation because of the pandemic. And it certainly impacts Prince George's County larger than most counties within the state of Maryland. It reminds us of our fragility of life, and for each brother, it also brings to mind the fact that we live together, we share our joys and pains as Omega men, and that certainly brings that story to a closure once one leaves the fold.
Indeed. You touched on the food drives, Brother Walls. Can you elaborate on what the chapter has been doing and will be doing, and those partnerships and the synergy that has come around the food drive, so the audience can learn a little bit more about it? Could you touch on that a little bit more detail, please?
Absolutely. Since the pandemic has started, we've been having a food drive, a food giveaway, if you will, primarily at the high schools within the county. We've been in every single district within Prince George's County, and even Washington, D.C. and Virginia for that matter. We've been doing them every week, and we've kind of standardized the drives now to occur every Saturday between 11 and 1 at St. Paul Town Center, which is located at 6419 Marlboro Pike in District Heights, Maryland. And St. Paul Church has been a tremendous partner in this effort, along with a brand new nonprofit, Food for Thought. What we've also have ventured into is a partnership with the Prince George's County Memorial Library System. We're going to have a food distribution at the New Carrollton branch on February 27th. And we're also going to have a distribution at a private school for at-risk children called the Foundation School in Largo, Maryland. And we'll put that information, have that information available on, of course, our social media outlets. But the partnership that we have with Friendship Charities Foundation Incorporated, which is the chapter's philanthropy, has been nothing short of tremendous. Without their support and efforts in helping us garner the resources for these food drives, this wouldn't be possible. And it's bringing to light the fact that this pandemic has highlighted the food insecurity and availability problem in the county, but this isn't anything new. Many of us know about the food deserts that exist in our county and exist in the Washington metropolitan area, especially in communities of color. And so we're trying to do just our small part in trying to bring some resources to those communities in need.
Thank you for that, Steve. Very quickly, what are the most important things coming up that you want to leave with our viewing audience in the last 40 seconds or so that we have before we go to commercial break?
Certainly. Well, the next event that's going to come up will be our virtual talent hunt. Last year we didn't have the talent hunt because of the pandemic, but this year we've been given the go-ahead to have a virtual talent hunt. Of course, our scholarships are going to be available, and you can go to charlesdrewmsf.org to grab an application and apply for those scholarships. It will be $3,000 for first-year students and $1,500 for continuing students. Project of Rich will again have their program in March, and they're going to look at mental health. And in April, they're going to hold their annual essay contest. So we look forward to that. And our Mardi Gras, of course, is on hold for COVID. Mm-hmm. And our upcoming district conference this spring in April, end of April, May, will be virtual as it was last year. So activities coming up. Well,
thank you very much, my friend, for joining us this evening. This is our chapter bossless, Brother Stephen Walls. As always, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Congratulations on beginning your second term, and we look forward to your continued dynamic leadership here in Prince George's County and of the chapter. Next on Community Uplift, we're going to talk Black fatherhood. And we have got three very dynamic guests to join the conversation. It is certainly one you do not want to miss. We'll be right back on Community Uplift.
Sergeant Michelle Garcia served meritoriously in Iraq and has the medals to prove it. Corpsman Richard Stokely took the skills he learned in Vietnam and put them to good use as a paramedic. But soon after leaving the military, these veterans faced homelessness. Even after Michelle lost all her savings, and even after Richard battled alcoholism for years, they both reached out for help when they needed it most. A simple phone call put them in touch with a trained professional from the VA. If you know of or are a veteran in need, make the call.
Welcome back to Community Uplift. During this era of racial reckoning, and at a time when we've seen many negative stereotypes about Black fathers, today's topic will give you a true perspective on Black fatherhood. Please welcome our guest, former Grand Bosselist of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Dr. Andrew A. Ray, author of Fathers Matter, which is an anthology on Black fatherhood, Brother Anthony Mcallister, who is also co-founder of the Ayanna J. Mcallister Foundation, and the former social action chairman of Gamma Pi chapter and board member of the Ayanna J. Mcallister Foundation, Brother Kevin Greenwood. Brothers, thank you for joining us on the show today. Now I'm going to warn our audience, we're all friends here. So you may hear me refer to Dr. Ray as Brother Grand. That's how an Omega man talks to a Grand Bosselist. So just bear with us. This is going to be very familiar to all of us. So Brother Mcallister, I want to get started with you. Since you were last on the show, can you update us on the activities of the Ayanna J. Mcallister Foundation?
Yes, Teddy. Thank you all for having me this evening. And I just want to kind of give a backdrop. In 2017, Ayanna, my youngest daughter, she was killed while home on spring break from college in her freshman year at St. Augustine's University, which happens to be my alma mater. This totally changed the direction of my life. And to honor Ayanna, while triumphing over our tragedy, my wife and I co-founded the Ayanna J. Mcallister Legacy Foundation. So the mission of our foundation is to deliberately engage communities of color that are disproportionately impacted by gun violence through advocacy and educational strategies. Since the last time I was here on the show, we have done quite a few events for the foundation. And each year since our inception in 2017, we've given partial scholarships to youth who reside in the DMV area. Information on our scholarships and the criteria can be found on our website at ayannamcallister.com. Prior to COVID-19, we had the following events and fundraisers to support our scholarship efforts. We had an annual scholarship awards fashion show, which was held at Camelot for 2 years. We had an annual Hoops Against Gun Violence, a girls and boys basketball game held at Largo, Ayanna's alma mater. An annual Legacy of Love prayer breakfast that we usually do in June, which encompasses 3 families who've lost their college-age children through gun violence. And we've done that Legacy of Love prayer breakfast for 3 years in a row. We also had a day party for 1 year featuring Sugar Bear from Sugar Bear in EU. He's our neighbor, and Sugar Bear consented to kind of assist our foundation by doing the day party. We also did a Smoke Out Gun Violence event, which was something that we did to give back to the folks that really supported the foundation. So those are some of the things that we've done since the last time I was here on Community Uplift.
Okay, and you've written a book since then.
Actually, I'm in the process of writing a book, Brother Taylor, and the title of my anthology is called Fathers Matter.
Okay.
And the book is intended to give readers a glimpse into the voices, insights, and reflections of 15 Black men on positive parenting. The goal of this anthology is to teach fathers how to create a meaningful impact for their children within the Black culture. And let me share with you a little bit about who is in this anthology. I have 2 pastors, one being Brother Harry Leo White Sr., who's a senior pastor of White's Chapel Church in Raleigh, North Carolina. I have one associate minister who's a young man that I've mentored since the age of 12. I have one brother in this anthology who's been in prison for over 20 years. And so he's writing about being a father from prison. I also have 11 brothers who are handling fatherhood on their own terms. 2 of the 11 are Omega men.
Mm. Powerful, powerful. Thank you for that, Brother Mcallister. Brother Grand, can you illuminate on why fatherhood is such a natural initiative for the men of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, and why fatherhood is such a major focus for us?
Brother Taylor, first of all, thank you and the brothers for having me on to just share some thoughts briefly. With Omega, I think that the overall focus came to me within Omega after my time with 2 of our founders, Brother uh, Love and Brother Cooper. And the time I spent with those founders, they passed on truly to me the 4 cardinal principles of manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. And they shared with me the kinds of things that they had to go through in establishing this august body of men that we now know as Omega Psi Phi. And so, taking that in, I began to spread the word as I began to do my journey, not only through this life, but through the D9 and through the world and around the world. I've tried to carry the message that they passed on to me. Um, and I also had Brother Taylor the I usually talk to young folks in a metaphorical term, and so metaphorically, I think as Black men, we have to really begin to share with our young men that being a male does not necessarily mean that you're a man.
Hmm.
Being a male is a gift of nature, but being a man speaks to your character. One thing that we have to deal with as an august body of men, how do we make sure that we don't miss the handoff of men who are coming after us? I shared in the foreword that I was doing with along with Mcallister. I grew up in the segregated South, and growing up there was truly a lesson in how you survive. And I shared in that brief sharing with the foreword those kinds of things that allowed me to live and to grow as a Black man. And my father, along with uh, my family, shared with me, learn to hold your peace. And I shared that with young men as I began to travel. And just one brief, I was speaking with some young men in lockup, and I shared the story of my being accosted by a white officer in New Orleans during segregation. Um, and that officer put a gun to my head and spit in my face. And he said, "Hit me, boy." I said, "No, sir." He went through this for about a half a minute. And each time I said, "No, sir." And the young brothers in lockup said to me, he said, "Dr. Ray, man, you let him punk you like that?" I said, that's why I'm here to tell you about it.
Hmm.
Because I learned how do you get to tomorrow. And too many of our young brothers missed how do you get to tomorrow. I think that is the core that began to drive our leadership in Omega to that we have to focus. And so we had the honor of, I had the personal honor of signing the MOU with President Obama to start the Fatherhood Initiative between Omega and President Obama. And I did so because I carried with me for years, how do you pass on? How does one get? And so that was a core piece that drove me to where I am now and my outreach to young brothers coming behind me, as well as Black fathers
Thank you
uh,
for that. Thank you for
today.
that. Thank you for that, Brother Ray. Brother Greenwood, I know you're involved with the foundation, but tell our viewers how you got involved with the foundation and your role as a member of the board, please.
Brother Taylor, thank you for having me on the show. Brother Mcallister, he's a great brother, and we've been friends, and our friendship has really solidified over the years. And when this tragedy unfolded, he confided in me and spoke with me. And when he said he was starting the foundation, he asked me if I wanted to be a part of it. I immediately said yes. Anything that he needs, I try to help him with. Right now, I'm on the social action portion.
Mm.
He mentioned a few programs that we've had. I was able to spearhead the smokeout event that we had in 2019, which was giving back to the people that had supported the foundation. It was a great event. So that's something that we look at doing in 2021, depending on the pandemic. But my role, I'm very supportive in pretty much all the endeavors. But I do hang my hat on the social action piece since I was a social action chair at Gamma Pi for the past 3 years. So I have some experience with that. But Brother Mcallister and his wife, they truly believe in what I have to offer and what I have to bring. So I'm just there in a supporting role.
Sure. Well, I'm gonna put you on the spot, young brother.
Okay.
Since you're the youngest brother on this call, as a young Black father, what are the unique challenges facing Black fatherhood, in your view?
Well, in my view, I think, when you talk about being the head of the household and being in corporate America, that's a struggle that you have to deal with on one end. And then you have to, in turn, be there for your family and your children. And all of the things that we see in society today with police brutality and the treatment of young Black men and women, you have to wear plenty of hats in your family. For me, my kids, I have a daughter that's 13, my son is 11. So I have to take the information. We watch the news, and I explain to them a lot of things that are happening in the community. Not only that, when I was a social action chair, and even before I was the chair, I brought both of them to events. And a lot of times they didn't really understand why they were there, but I wanted them to see that there's children out here that need our assistance in regards to the fraternity. And this is what we do. So to have my children there and they could see firsthand and participate, they got a better understanding of what social action is and being there in your community and working in your community. And as Black men, I mean, that's a powerful role for us. I think, most of the brothers that I know, that's what they do. So it's very important for us to show our families that we're involved in the community, and obviously we're fathers at home and husbands, and we take care of what we need to do on all fronts.
Indeed, indeed. Well said, brother. I know one of Brother Ray's predecessors, the late Brother Burnell Coulon, used to say, how can you help someone else's kid if you can't show them that your house is in order? And that is so very true, brother. It's important that our children see the example of manhood and the example of what positive Black manhood is all about. Brother Mcallister, can you talk a bit more about why you decided to focus on Black fathers and celebrate Black fatherhood? Because it's a topic that, quite frankly, is often never spoken of in a positive way. I think we all know on this panel, we know more good fathers than we do deadbeat fathers. But yet the narrative is we're all a bunch of deadbeats. So tell the audience why that narrative is wrong and why you decided to celebrate Black fathers.
All right. Well, Brother Taylor, first, before I answer that question, I want to say to Dr. Andrew Ray that I am deeply, deeply honored that you consented to write the foreword in this most important anthology. So I want to thank you publicly, brother. And what I want to say, Teddy, is that during the plight of losing my daughter, my wife is a very outgoing person. She does a lot of things in the community as well as myself. And I found myself often people coming up to me asking me how my wife was. And I felt that even in that moment of loss, a man was still taking the back seat. I lost a baby girl. I mean, how much deeper can you go with that? But then I thought that people just did not understand that fathers have a place. And so my wife pushed me and gave me the inspiration to decide to write this anthology to talk about men. There are a lot of good men doing a lot of good things, and a lot of times we kind of have to take the back seat. And so I thought that it was time for us to step forward and me to bring some of the men that were around me, brothers that are doing good things. I thought that in this anthology, I wanted to touch brothers from all different perspectives. And so when you read this anthology, you're going to find that there are ministers, there are single fathers, you know, there are brothers like Brother Greenwood and myself who are present fathers. And so hopefully this anthology will put us in a brighter light, and it'll give folks a roadmap, brothers who are lost, brothers who have a problem being fathers. They can look at this as a roadmap to help them do the job of being a good dad.
Thank you for that, Brother Mcallister. I'm being told we only have about a minute, and since this is a panel composed of all Omega men in our fine tradition, and with the permission of brothers Mcallister and Greenwood, I think I'd let Brother Grand close us out.
Absolutely.
Brother Grand, why don't you share some of that Grand Bosselus wisdom for the audience in terms of where we go from here with our Black fathers?
I think as we move forward, my brothers, you have to always remember that we can't be so busy giving our children what we did not have until we forget to give them what we did have. A sense of purpose, a perseverance that you never give up, you don't quit, no matter what you face. You have to think your way through. And always remember that we are the example. We are the example, and we are the ones who have to hand off to those who come in behind us. Because no matter how long and how well you run a race, there's going to come a time you're going to have to hand off. And so we have to make sure we perfect the handoff to our children, to our young folks. Because if they miss the handoff, or we collectively miss the handoff, not only do we lose individually, the whole team loses. There are no individuals in life's race. We run the relay. Each one of us run our leg of the race. We're best of our ability. So my brothers in Omega, let's continue to run that race well. When we do hand off, we will give the team a chance to win.
Thank you, Brother Grant. As always, your wisdom, your insights are very, very, very proportional and mean something to the theme of the day and to the way we should conduct ourselves always. I'd like to thank our guest, Brother Dr. Andrew Way, former Grand Bosselus of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, my two good chapter brothers, Brother Anthony Mcallister and Brother Kevin Greenwood, for joining us today. And of course, I wish the very best to each of you individually and to your families and everyone else in your lives that you hold near and dear. Thank you so very much for coming. Folks, that's a wrap for us on this edition of Community Uplift. It's been my pleasure to substitute for our regular host, Ms. Denise Smith, for this particular session. If you have missed anything or you want to revisit the show, you can find us on Gamma Pi YouTube. That's always available to you. We are also on Twitter at Gamma Pi Qs. I have to give you all the social media stuff. And on Facebook at Gamma Pi Chapter. So I think with that, I'd like to say thank you again for joining us on this edition of Community Uplift. I'd like to say stay safe and be well. I am Teddy Taylor, and we will see you the next time.